in old New York.
Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cameron, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how I budget my $74,000 a year salary here in New York City. So if you've been following my channel for a while now, you know I really enjoy personal finance and keeping track of my income and my spending, and overall making sure that I'm in the best position moving forward in life. Now, knowing that, you'll probably be surprised by some of the things I talk about in this video, some of the habits that I have or that I've set for myself living here in New York City. This is definitely a new chapter of my life, and I have adopted some different principles for how I'm going to live my life and how I'm kind of approaching my spending and my finances for this interim period. So getting into the big overarching question, $74,000 a year. I work as a consultant for KPMG, and I know that there are plenty of other roles that make a lot more money. Trust me, I went through the recruiting process and had offers for a lot of them. But ultimately, I made the decision that this role with KPMG was not only best for me long-term with respect to my long-term outlook for my career, but also it's what allowed me to move here to New York City and live out my dream and pursue so many goals that I have for my life outside of just my career. But do I wish it were more? Yes. Has the salary been adjusted for inflation at all? Absolutely not, but hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. But with all that said, I did still budget for this salary, and regardless of how much other people are making, this salary allows me to live a very comfortable lifestyle. Now, yes, I've only been living here in New York City for about 7 weeks at this point, but it is August 31st now, so I just wrapped up my budget and my spending for the month. So I'm gonna kind of break it down for you, show you what I spent. Also, the lifestyle that I live here in New York City, I fund completely on my own. So I do take great pride in that. Yes, although I'm only making $74K, which after taxes in New York City is really not a lot of money at all, I still am able to live a very comfortable lifestyle, which you will see here. So overall, I can't complain. So with this being said, let's get into how this income is broken down. So like a lot of jobs, I get paid semi-monthly, so just about every 2 weeks at work. For this month, for whatever reason, my 2 semi-monthly payments were different, but let's put that at an average of $21.75 every 2 weeks. That gives me a total income from work at KPMG to $43.50. And how much money do I have budgeted that I am going to spend in the month? $42.27. That leaves me with a whopping $123 left over. That's definitely a scary number. Some of those fears are a little bit resolved when you take into consideration that my 401k contribution is part of that expense that I have budgeted for each month. But still, let's put that at $350 a month going into savings. Not a lot of money. But it is really important to mention that this does not include any of my YouTube or additional side income. Any income that comes into me from outside of KPMG, I plan to invest and save it all. But honestly, it's not like I'm making that much money from YouTube right now, a couple $100s here and there per month. So it's not gonna make a huge difference. But realistically, I did just come to the conclusion that it's okay for me to not save a ton of money right now in my career. A book I read earlier this year called Die with a Zero was very influential in this kind of decision-making process and changed my mind with a lot of principles that I had previously. Also, I've already maxed out my Roth IRA for this year, so that kind of alleviates a little bit of stress too, just because I've already done that, and that alone puts me in a really good position moving forward in life. Also, I do still plan on doing that every single year. That has not changed. Roth IRAs are so powerful, and I gotta take advantage of that compound interest. But at the same time, after I've done that, after I've maxed out my Roth IRA, I really don't see too much benefit of me saving a few $100s here and there and depriving myself of current experiences now at this point in my life so that I can have just a little bit more money 30, 40, 50 years from now, when realistically, I'm gonna be rich and I don't need that extra money. Die with Zero really talks about kind of utilizing the time that you have now and how experiences you make now compound just the same as money does. And a lot of experiences actually compound in value more than money ever will. So at this point in my life, I am living in New York City. That is the absolute dream for me and so many other people. And the experiences and connections that I make living here in New York City now are ultimately going to be way more valuable than the value of money that I could save and invest living elsewhere. So now that you know a little bit more of my ideology of my budget, let's go into what I'm spending my money on. Okay, so like I said before, I have budgeted to spend $4,227 a month. That is bizarre, but this is how it is going to be spent. So rent, that is a fixed expense. That means it is not going to change any month, and that is a total of $21.25 per month. Now, I do realize this is a lot, and I'm sure there will be plenty of comments about how this can pay for a mortgage in plenty of states, but I love my apartment, I love where I'm living, and realistically, $21.25 for the room and the apartment and the building that I have can't be beat. And in addition to that, I have utilities. I budgeted for $100, but you'll see that could kind of fluctuate depending on the time of the year. Now, moving forward into some of the more controversial items, I have budgeted $500 a month for food. That comes out to about $125 a weekend. That is definitely a good amount of money, and it adds up. I mean, that's $6,000 a year. That could be a full maxed out Roth IRA. But realistically, I know for myself, if I don't give myself a set budget for fun, I ultimately won't spend the money. This was kind of an issue for me in college. I was always so focused on saving that it definitely kept me from having some experiences and kind of living that life to its fullest. And I want to make sure that that doesn't happen living here in New York. So fun, that can really be anything I want it to be, whether it's going to a Yankees game or going out for some drinks with some friends, or even if I really want to, maybe some clothes or some books for my bookshelf. But regardless of what I spend it on, I'm giving myself $500 to spend on fun per month. Now, moving forward into the biggest expense other than my rent, food. I have given myself $1,000 a month to spend on food. Now, again, I realize this is a lot of money. It comes out to $33 a day. And as you'll soon see, the way I set up the budget really works with this. Yes, there will be some days where I spend the 33, but there are just as many days where I am below it. And again, kind of similar to fun, I really wanted to give myself more than I probably needed, just because that will make me so much more comfortable spending the money. Also, it just gives me the opportunity to have more fun experiences. I don't want to have to say no to going out to dinner with coworkers or friends. I also don't want to have to resort to eating dollar slice pizza every single night. So this budget really allows me to kind of live my New York City experience to its fullest. Then some more typical expenses. I've given myself $80 for the subway each month, as well as $100 for Ubers. I think it's really important to include transportation into my budget, and I wanted to give myself a little bit more money than I probably need, just so that I never really have to worry about going over budget. And sadly, sometimes Uber prices can be super expensive, so I wanted to kind of make sure that I could alleviate any stress related to that. Finally, I have given myself $100 for dry cleaning and laundry. I do work a corporate job, so I'm wearing dress shirts quite a bit, so it is important to kind of give myself some budget for getting dry cleaning. And finally, like I said before, I am still putting 5% of my paycheck into my 401k contribution. I don't know when I did that 5% calculation, but it came out to $222. So that is what I am amounting to my 401k. Although KPMG does contribute, I believe, up to 5% per year for their employees without me contributing at all. But I still wanted to take advantage of some of those tax incentives of contributing to that. I already am investing in my Roth IRA, so I have other investments, but it's always a good idea to save just a little bit more. So overall, this is a lot of money, but it is money that I am spending to live my best life. I really do feel so much better having this budget. And like I said before, I'd rather set too high of a budget for myself and underspend every month than restrict myself and really just always wish that I had a different lifestyle. And honestly, this last month has been absolutely great. I've never spent money the way I have before, and I think it's really healthy, my approach to it. And no, it's not like I'm being ridiculous spending crazy money. Not at all. I'm just able to not stress about each expense, every coffee that I get going out, getting dinner with my girlfriend, paying $50 for drinks on a rooftop. These are things that, yes, are expensive, but because I've set the budget for myself, I feel comfortable doing it, and I know that I will be okay, and I'm still following my goals that I have. So with this being said, let's get into the actual spreadsheet. Okay, so you all should be able to see my spreadsheet in the top right corner of your screen. So I know it looks very messy, very confusing, but like I said, this is what works for me. This is what's best for me. So let's get into the food first. So the way I have the food set up, pretty clear right at the top, total of $1,000 to spend. Then for each day, I just have the date and any expense that I had that I justify as food. So you can see this first day, deli, drink at a Yankees game, $7, dollar pizza. So the way it typically works is I list all of these out, then I total them up, and then whatever I spent under the $33, which is 1,000 divided by 30, just about, that is what goes here. So that is the over under. And then from there, the accumulation of this over under then comes here. So this just really helps me mentally because it sees kind of what I'm saving overall. So you can see here the first few days, I definitely wasn't spending that much money. I was saving $18 each day, $16. So it definitely can add up, but you'll soon see that it can be expensive living in New York. So then there were some days that were a little bit more, then I'm saving some money, then I'm over, saving money, over. And you can see here, a lot of the times I would subsidize some of my fun things just because I wanted to save up a little bit more money for fun, and I had some room in my budget within food. So here, I think I ate both meals at home. So I gave myself rooftop drinks and subsidized it $50. That just was what I decided to do that day. And that's what I like about this format. It really kind of just gives me the flexibility. And during this time period, my girlfriend was in town, so we went to Trader Joe's. So that's kind of what the one expense is here. I'm not doing it on an accrual basis. I think that's too confusing. I'd rather just have one lump sum and then not expense any of the meals moving forward. Again, that's what works for me. So you can see some days I really was not spending a lot of money, but then there's others like this where you go out for dinner and you definitely go over. So that's why I liked keeping the accumulation in there, just so I could kind of see where I stand, because obviously if I were going over $80, typically that's really scary. But if I have $120 already that I have, that I'm under budget, $80 additional for a day isn't gonna kill you. So from there, again, pretty straightforward. And that is the end of the month. So you can see I really would go under budget most days. And I ultimately would subsidize some other expenses in food. But you can see here, I spent a total of $800 for the month of August, leaving me a surplus of $197. So from there, we have this section focused on fun. This shows you kind of what I spend my money on. So there's a lot of drinks, 2 drinks at Bravest, which is a bar just down the street, some flowers, and again, some rooftop drinks, fun drinks, and more drinks. So drinks are very expensive in New York, as I'm sure you can imagine. And finally, this just accumulates, shows how much total I spent. So in the end, I still saved or had $156 left at the end of the month. And I have to say I had a very active and fun month. Like I said, my girlfriend was in town, so we had a lot of plans. We were going out a lot. The tip isn't my typical weekend by any means, but again, you can see I can go out and I can have a lot of fun and still have money left over at the end of the month. So that's why I think moving forward into some of the later months when people aren't really going out as much, it'll be okay, and I will probably end up saving a lot of my money. Now, finally, moving on to the last section, it's kind of just what I threw together, and this is where I track most of the other expenses. So up here at the top, I have what I have budgeted for each category, and then this is kind of showing what I had left that I didn't spend at the end of the month. So you can see here, I would kind of just go day by day and just put stuff in here. So, okay, I spent $11 on the subways that day. I spent $88 or $78 on utilities that day. So again, not super organized, but works for me. It's not a huge time commitment to fill this out whenever I have expenses. So you can see here, finished out the month, put in my food expense. And so everything kind of works out, shows how much I went under budget in this row. And there is the total that I had budgeted and what I ended up spending in total. So I ended up being $690 under budget. And yes, this is gross of what my 401k would be. I wasn't able to contribute to my 401k yet because that only allows you to do it after 60 days, which I'm not currently at. So yes, it was 690, but without the 401k contribution, it would be 468, which honestly is pretty promising. If I was starting off from day one, from January, if I could do that each month, that alone would come pretty close to maxing out a Roth IRA. So from that section, we will kind of just follow down here to the income. So this is just a good place for me to keep track of the income that I have coming in for the month. So you can see here, I would put in each paycheck. This was an interesting month just because I received my bonus from work, so it kind of throws off the total income. But you can see here, I have my paychecks. I have what I made from Google Ads this month, as well as some reimbursements from KPMG for some travel, and a misspelled paycheck there, but whatever. So you can see I made a total of $7,287 this month. Without the bonus, that comes out to about $4,600. And what I spent was about $35. So net income for August, total of everything, was $3,700. If you adjust that without the bonus, I end up saving about $1,000 for the entire month. Now, again, this makes me pretty optimistic. Like I said before, I feel that I spent a lot of money this month. So to be able to come away with it, still saving $1,000, is really good. Also, I am very optimistic about my YouTube channel. I'm very motivated to kind of grow that revenue and some other side projects I have. So like I said before, that would be all additional income. So this $1,000 can do nothing but increase moving forward. Also, then down here, I bought my flight home to Naples for Christmas. So I just took that out just because that was an expense on my credit card. So when I'm transferring money into my different accounts, I am aware of it. So net of everything, $34.49. Let's say that without the bonus comes out to about $700, which again, I'm very fortunate to have. Okay, so with all of this said, this is what works for me. This is kind of how my brain works, the different accumulations. It makes me feel the most comfortable about spending my money. But it's really important for me to budget just because this is my first time living fully alone, my first time paying for my food and my housing and all of that. So it was really important that I do this and have a good eye on what I'm spending. But I do understand the spreadsheet is extremely messy, but it does work for my brain and for my motivations. And also, this motivates me to work even harder on YouTube. As I said before, I budgeted my lifestyle based off of my KPMG consulting salary alone. So that means that as my YouTube revenue grows, hopefully, that means that my overall revenue will grow, and that will just be all additional income that I can save and invest. I truly do love the lifestyle that I'm currently living in New York City. I don't feel too deprived. I'm living in my dream apartment, and I am able to go out for meals when I want, get coffee every single day. And I know that might go against what I was talking about in past videos about saving money and doing all of that, but I truly am living my best life here in New York City, and I don't think I could be doing that anywhere else. So with all of this said, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm sure it's pretty long, but I hope you got some value out of it and can see a little bit more of what my life is living here in New York City. As always, if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me on Instagram right here at Galbraith. Also, check out my website. I just wrapped it up. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, I'll stop rambling and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.